The Sorcerer by W.S. Gilbert. Oh, my name is John Wellington Wells. I'm a dealer in magic and spells, of blessings and curses and ever-filled purses, in prophecies, witches, and knells. I'll give that a 3 out of 5 stars. It wasn't very funny, but it was very good. Hello everybody and welcome to Noise in a Book. Today I'm doing a short review for the short story I Want to Know Why by Sherwood Anderson. I got this one out of my Norton anthology of short fiction. The story is told in first person. He talks directly to the reader throughout the narrative. And the reason I have to keep referring to the narrator and as the protagonist is because they never say his name. When he is 15 years old, he goes to a racetrack. Him and his friends go train hopping and go to Saratoga from his home in Beckersville. He is obsessed with racehorses. He wants to go see the races in Saratoga because they have 2 horses from Beckersville competing there, and he's a big fan of both of them, and he thinks they're both winners. He convinces his group of friends, of which he is the oldest at 15 years of age, to go with him on this trip to see the horses race. He says in the text that he is almost 16 when he is writing this. Over the course of the story, you find out at the end that there was this event that has caused his worldview to change. He is starting to grow up. He has grown up in a world where there are clearly good people and there are bad people, and adults have been able to siphon that kind of out for them. He has a friend whose father is a gambler, and his friend's parents tell him that he is not a good person, so he is not a good person. Through this boy's respect for horses, you find that this boy is very nervous about growing up. He even describes Sunstreak as nervous, a very nervous horse, when he's watching him run in the fields and when he first met Sunstreak. And I feel like that's kind of where the narrator is right now. He's very nervous about life, he's very nervous about growing up, he's very nervous about becoming a man and what that means. This is very much a story coming from someone who doesn't want to grow up and who likes how exciting and big the world is right now, and is somewhat scared by how complicated it is. And he is forced to confront that complication. Sometimes we can find someone who we look up to and who we trust and who is our hero, and find out that maybe they're not the best person, that there has been things wrong with them, which I've always found a very interesting topic, especially when it comes to literature and art, because there are authors that I find myself not really agreeing with, but I love their works. People are very complicated. It's not good to idolize people because we are all flawed, and the author is very, very good at using the tools at his disposal. If you're not a fan of language, not so much in the sense of just curse words, but because of when this book was written, he does say the N-word a lot. And it very much is in a way of more ignorant racism. He very much likes black people, and he makes a point to say that. He finds them to be better company than any other adults that he has to deal with. There are several points of time in the story where he makes a point to say that, no, these guys that work in the stables, they're awesome. They're my favorite. I love hanging out with them. But the problem comes from his ignorance, is he still sees them as very much, it's because they're black people. And that's not okay. There's some time period stuff you have to wrap your head around, like the fact that this group of 4 boys, the oldest of which was 15, just went train hopping from Beckersville to Saratoga. That's insane to me that, cops weren't called. But no, they made it there, and they stopped a bunch of places and got some souvenirs and made it home. And he even mentions, his mom was upset, but his dad was kind of well, you're fine. He's very passionate about horses, and I think that's something that us on BookTube, and really anyone who is very passionate or nerdy about anything, can relate to very easily. This is what he wants to do with his life because he is very passionate about it. But this is how he describes his love of horses. If you've never been crazy about thoroughbreds, it's because you've never been around where they are much and don't know any better. They're beautiful. There isn't anything so lovely and clean and full of spunk and honest and everything as some racehorses. On the big horse farms that are all around our town, Beckersville, there are tracks and the horses run in the early morning. More than 1,000 times I got out of bed before daylight and walked 2 or 3 miles to the track. Mother wouldn't let me go, but Father always said, let him alone. So I got some bread out of the bread box and some butter and jam, gobbled it, and lit out. This is what is really interesting to me about short stories, is you have to be able to pack a lot of information into a small amount of space, and this narrator, Sherwood Anderson, does that very well. At moments when it really seems like the narrator is just rambling off on a tangent, because he's this 15-year-old boy with a lot going on in his brain, but he is trying to tell a specific story. So in the narration, he'll go off on these little tangents and then bring himself back. These tangents serve the purpose for the narrator, for the author, of letting us know a lot more about this boy, and a lot more about his personality and his relationship with his father and how he has been brought up the way he has been brought up. We know that he loves horses, and I think a lot of that has to do, specifically in this paragraph, about the words lovely, clean, and honest. He very much wants to, give into his drive and run after his passion and be everything that he can be, but he also wants to maintain a certain amount of integrity and honesty and respectability about it while he does it. I decided to give I Want to Know Why by Sherwood Anderson 4 out of 5 stars. Catalog it, put it on your to be read list. Hopefully I will maybe have another review for you later this week, if not next week for sure. Thank you so much for reading, and have a great day. To me, Orson Scott Card is one of the best examples of that. I love Ender's Game and Ender's Shadow. Orson Scott Card as an author, I respect and admire, but Orson Scott Card as a person is very homophobic and not a good person, and I don't really have any respect or honor for him as a human being. I'm definitely going to be looking for Sherwood Anderson more in the future. Apparently he's also written some poetry. I'm going to start looking into that. Oh, you were all messy the whole time. I'm sure they'll forgive me.